Hey everybody, this is Maxwell Eaton. I'm here at World Central Kitchen in Przemysl, Poland. And I'd like to show you what we've got going on here. We are making sandwiches and we are cooking hot meals. I'm gonna flip the old camera around like this. This is our sandwich line. Lots of people making salami sandwiches. They get grilled on a panini. And moving over to our hot side here. We've got our bakery department there. What's up? Okay, some fresh fruit. Everybody say hi, what's up? And finally, we've got our huge paella pans. This massive, we're making about 3,000 soups, sometimes a little bit more every day. This is a chicken soup. And yeah, that's our place. So I'm glad you guys could come take a look and support World Central Kitchen.
Hey everyone, so that was Maxwell Eaton, our guest today. We are speaking with him from the Ukrainian-Polish border, where he is currently working, cooking, and distributing meals for thousands of Ukrainian refugees with the World Central Kitchen. Welcome to the Crazy Amazing Humans podcast. I'm Katrina Carlson.
And I'm Jefferson Denham. We want to thank you so much for being with us from wherever you are on this crazy, amazing planet. So let's get right to this really cool conversation. We want to make sure, by the way, and always tell you that we truly appreciate you. And we want to remind you that you are crazy, amazing.
I want you to feel, I want you to feel something crazy, crazy, amazing.
Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Alexander, and you're listening to Crazy Amazing Humans, the podcast with Katrina Carlson and Jefferson Denham.
Hey everyone, we're here with Maxwell Eaton, an entrepreneur, chef, and restaurateur who lives in New Orleans and is currently working, cooking, and distributing meals for thousands of Ukrainian refugees with the World Central Kitchen at the Ukraine-Poland border. Hey Maxwell, how are you?
Hey everybody, great, I'm doing good.
It's just awesome to be speaking with you. You're halfway around the world from us, helping people in such an amazing way. And we're going to get right to what you're doing there. But first, will you tell us a little bit about yourself for our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I owned and operated a restaurant in New Orleans for the last 5 years. And it was a vegan restaurant focused on healthy food and nutritionally dense food, but also trying to kind of engage people with, tasty food and creative food. So I did that, and my lease ran up May 31st. So I had been planning on having a transition. And when the conflict in Ukraine started, I knew that my life was going to be set up in a way that I could have some time to dedicate to the cause there, and found out that José Andrés and World Central Kitchen was on the spot. So I thought to myself, well, this is a way for me to be effective and also for me to have a next stepping stone in my life. And so it made perfect sense for me. And I decided to come out here and try to do some good work.
Amazing.
Hey, we're going to unpack more of that, your journey there. But just to give our audience a little bit more of background on you. So how did you get involved with cooking?
Absolutely. So yeah, I would self-describe as a cook as well. I started kind of as a summer job. I worked for a catering company a few summers in a row. And I was passionate about it personally and curious. But as time went on, I did go through a health discovery or a health exploration that led me into plant-based foods and led me into monitoring and guiding myself through my diet to healthier living. So that was kind of this new connection to me with food that I hadn't really had before and hadn't experienced. So when I kind of got to that point and made that connection, I thought that it would be great to present that to the public, for people to have a place to access healthy food and to promote it and to offer something positive in return, especially when I was based in New Orleans. As we all know, it's southern fried, deep fried, refried, and all that down there. So I thought it would be a good place for it.
Yeah, when I was in New Orleans, it's funny. My wife and I went to a restaurant. We had to wear bibs because the dish they were serving was so sloppy, and the other patrons were looking at each other. One guy leans in and says, "You're from out of town, aren't you?" So anyway, New Orleans is fabulous.
Yeah, it is great. And you got involved with something when you had your restaurant. I remember it was called Eat Fit NOLA, New Orleans, right? Louisiana.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us about partnering with them?
Yeah, for sure. It's a great organization, Eat Fit. They are part of a medical facility called Ochsner, which is based in New Orleans. And so they're kind of part of their subdivision, and they partner with restaurants to try to promote healthier meals on the menu. Throughout the years, we did a lot of little grassroots events together and pop-ups.
Didn't you also partner with Second Harvest Food Bank as well?
I did. We did some fundraising for them in the fall when Hurricane Ida hit. It knocked the power out. Like many hurricanes, affected the area pretty deeply, and we had power outage for a few weeks. Extended. And so coming out of that, that was my way of saying, hey, I know that we're struggling. My restaurant was struggling. So what better time to recognize that there's a need to reach out? And so I thought, this is the right time to do it. And I continued that actually. When I closed my restaurant in May, I went back to them and was able to donate the extra food I had, the dry goods and some paper goods. And they're very receptive to food donations, even from if it's just a can of beans to, in my case, 50-pound bag of flour and a bunch of other stuff like that. So
I'm noticing a pattern here, Maxwell, that you do give back. And so now we're going to just kind of skip ahead to where you are now there. And now, is it correct in saying you're at the Ukrainian-Poland border or somewhere around there?
We're very close. The name of the city is Przemyśl, Poland. And we're, I think, just about 15 kilometers, 20 minutes away from the border. And I'm working at a satellite kitchen that produces food for several different distribution points. One of them is actually on the border. So they do have a lot of our food goes there to Medica is the name of that point of transit. They also have a distribution center at the train station here. So people coming in from Kiev or other Ukrainians who are going back to settle up or just going back to resume their life there. And there is a third distribution point here. They have a refugee center that's in this city. It's at a Tesco, which is kind of like a Polish Walmart that they cleared out completely. And they've got bedding, and different humanitarian aid organizations have booths and services there for people who might need to get a visa or might need information or guidance in what to do next. So there's a huge refugee center there here in Przemyśl, as well.
Right. So you're right there on the front lines. And I just was going to say, so just want to bump back a little bit about, the World Central Kitchen and what inspired you to get involved with them.
It was a combination of things. It wasn't just one thing or just a coincidence, but I did have a very strong personal reaction when the war broke out, as so many Americans and so many people in the world did. When you see this sovereign nation being attacked and this level of suffering, it was just on my mind. So that was kind of the start, was just this emotional reaction, and then kicked in kind of the logical part of my brain and my body, which started thinking, hey, I'm ending a chapter of my restaurant, and I had built these skills. And so I started thinking, hey, here's a chance for me to be really useful and that I can continue my skills. I grew to really enjoy working with people, having little projects in the kitchen. And I thought, this is something that would really work. And there was a little bit of serendipity. I remember I was on my way home from work and I drove by a couple friends who were walking their dog. It was less than a week after the conflict broke out, and I pulled over to say hi to them. And one of my friends said, I was talking about the conflict, and one of my friends said, hey, did you know José Andrés is out there? And I was like, oh, no, I did not. So I went home and I got on my computer, looked up World Central Kitchen and saw, hey, if I can start volunteering next week, they had slots open right away. And I thought, wow, what easy access. They're not putting up any blocks for volunteers. You just got to, have the time and go out there and put the effort in and or have the ability to and the freedom in your life to. But for me, that was kind of like this golden door opened up and said, just this is the way to go. So
wow, man. And so you touched on this. So what is the interview process for our audience? If there's other amazing cooks out there that might want to join this effort,
Sure.
What is the interview process, or how are you screened?
Well, actually, there's not much. This organization will take
Because
volunteers.
I can make oatmeal.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. And that is useful. Actually, many of the volunteers that come in don't have any kitchen experience, and they're trained and guided by the other experienced members on the team. There are tasks that are approachable by anybody. You can also work at one of the distribution centers serving food, just kind of like a front of house type scenario where, again, don't need any experience. And for me, after the first few days, I was telling my friends, oh my gosh, you got to come here. Even if you don't have any experience at all in this organization, there's a place for you. And it's a place that nurtures people to learn how to serve food, how to prepare it, and how to work in this kitchen environment that not most people don't have that opportunity.
What is your housing situation there? Do they provide housing? Are you having to get your own? I assume you have to fly yourself there. Is there any support when you get there?
Actually, not in this case, and
Okay.
I'm not sure what their protocol is for different activations, but actually here in Shemesh, I think that they didn't want to occupy the different apartments and available Airbnbs and things like that with volunteers so that it could still be open for refugees and other people.
And Maxwell, Katrina and I loved Weed Feed People. You've probably seen the documentary yourself. And one of the things that we kind of took away from that, and I think you're explaining this well, is that it seems like all the funding goes directly to helping people. So there you are, taking care of your own needs, footing your own bill so that you can be there and not be a burden to what needs to happen, which is a focused effort to help those in need. Would you say that's true?
Absolutely. And just last week, World Central Kitchen reached its milestone of serving now, I think, a total of 10 million meals just in Poland.
Wow.
10 million meals. Yeah.
So how long have you been there, and what does your day-to-day look like?
So I've been here now for just over 3 weeks in the kitchen part of the organization. We start at 7:30 a.m. and we have 3 services a day. 9 a.m., that's when the kind of breakfast foods go out, which are cakes and fruits mostly. 11 a.m., the lunch goes out to the different distribution centers. And at 4 p.m., we case and bring out dinner. Our staff typically gets out of the kitchen. Today, for me, was about 5:15.
So 7:30 a.m. to 5:15. That's a day.
That's a full day.
That's a full day.
One thing that we found out too, which is really interesting, is you don't just show up. I remember going to a conference. It was a bunch of like-minded people just like us who wanted to do good in the world. And they gave this cautionary tale of a very wealthy, famous basketball player who goes into a war-torn country, deciding what they really need were T-shirts with his face on it. And the person telling the story says, so please pay attention to the needs of the folks in your area. What you guys do, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you don't just come in just serving any old food. You find out what is the cuisine that's appropriate for the palates of the area you're in versus, hey, I like peanut butter sandwiches, so I'm just what I'm going to give you. Would you say that that's kind of a guiding principle, is understanding the cuisine needs and tastes of the area you're in?
Absolutely. And as somebody who is a cook and has had my own restaurant, the first time I tasted the food that was coming out of that kitchen, I was blown away. I was really impressed and immediately realized that there's something special happening here. This is not just sustenance. This is a way of providing a moment of relief through this comfort food, really. And the menu is adapted to the different regions. And in our kitchen, we have several Ukrainian chefs who are making sure that not only the items on the menu are accurate to the culture, but they're good quality. They are what the people here would want to have, and it would be the same way that they would have at home.
Right. That's why on that documentary that we mentioned, the We Feed People, that is directed by Ron Howard, right? They were saying, they had José Andrés there saying, yeah, I got in, I thought, oh, I'm a great chef. I'm gonna cook what I'm so good at. And I was making beans a certain way for them in Haiti. And they were kind of looking at me like, these are very strange. And I realized I had to figure out how they made them in Haiti, which was very, they mashed the beans and they made them very soupy. So I think that's really cool. What are some of the unique foods that you're making there?
Some of the favorites, we use a lot of the ingredients that are our favorites. So we've got, your borscht soup, which is a beet and cabbage soup, which also sometimes has beef. Sometimes we do it vegetarian. And we do a lot of cucumber salad with dill. Dill is very popular out here. So that's one of those herbs that we include in the borscht and in the salads. Other interesting things is that people don't really like their food to be oversalted here. So, for the cooks in the kitchen, we're, having to hold back that salt a little bit and make sure that, that it meets the palate for the people here so that they're enjoying the food and they're getting, coming back for more,
Katrina and I have a burning question for you, Maxwell, because so we've seen the footage, big vats of soup, big pallets of food being prepared. Here's my question. Who does the dishes?
I mean, I would say I haven't personally counted, but there's probably 30 to 40 people in the support crew, from those who are coordinating the deliveries, washing the dishes. At nighttime, there's a full cleaning crew that clears the entire kitchen, and they have like one of these riding motorized floor cleaners. I mean, I've never been in a kitchen so clean.
So a kitchen Zamboni, you're saying?
Wow.
A kitchen Zamboni.
That's
exactly.
amazing. So that's pretty cool because they're supporting you local people with probably the funding they have. So that's really wonderful that they're employing
Absolutely,
locals.
yeah.
So how many meals do you think you all serve a day from just your facility?
The kitchen is split into two sections, the cold side, they call it, and the hot side. So the cold side is preparing sandwiches. The organization can use the volunteers who don't have much kitchen experience to assemble these sandwiches. And on site, they're put into a panini press. So they're hot, they're made with care, and they're still wonderful sandwiches with great ingredients. And then the hot side is preparing these meals like the borscht, the beef, the pork, and all the salads. To come back to your question, the sandwiches vary daily between 5,000 to 7,000 sandwiches each day,
Wow.
which is wild. And I would say we do close to the same, if not more, in hot meals. So soups will do easily 3,000 to 4,000 a day, as well as a similar portioning. Beef will go through 600 kilos of turkey breast in a day, just bins and bins of cabbage. It's pretty wild and impressive. And, I can touch on that personally because coming out of where I was with my restaurant, I struggled so much with this idea of, I'm trying to feed people, and the more customers I get, the, more business I get, and this whole kind of idea of trying to pay the bills. But when I came here, I realized just how fulfilling it is to serve people. And that's why I got into it originally. And the idea that we're serving, 10 plus thousand meals a day to people. And every time I perform this simple action, whether it's putting cheese on a piece of bread or making the soup or cutting a cucumber, this has a good effect. It reaches out and touches somebody directly, and not just one person, but many, many people. So the number of people that we serve has a great effect.
Direct impact. Katrina and I were wondering, first of all, how long you plan on staying, and what is the average stay for a volunteer?
I originally had planned on just doing 3 weeks, but at this point, I'm going to stay all the way until August. So I'm going to stay
Wow.
probably another month and a half out here. And I would stay longer if I could.
So you were going to say the
no,
average
yeah,
stay for a volunteer.
It varies. Each week we get about 50 to 60 volunteers, and the majority of them are just there for 1 week. But a lot of people decide to extend when they get here. And then also a lot of people will go back home and then come back. I would say of the 60 people that volunteer in a week, maybe 15 of them are staying for multiple weeks, and the remaining 40 are just here for a week, which is, putting your body in this place is a big action. It says a lot. It tells the world that people care about what's happening here. And I think that alone is...
That speaks volumes.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely. The funding for all this food, that is coming from the fundraising from World Central Kitchen? Is that basically, if people donate there, it will be applied to things like what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. This kitchen here is completely funded by World Central Kitchen, the organization. They have many other restaurant partners where they partner with other restaurants to serve food through that restaurant, and the other partners kind of work as a vessel for World Central Kitchen. But this particular kitchen here is completely funded by World Central Kitchen and the donations. That money is going directly for the food and the services.
Fantastic. And of course, we see things on the news, but you are there, your boots on the ground. So I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about, like, outside your kitchen, how are things unfolding for the refugees, and in general, your impressions of what's going on there in Ukraine?
Absolutely, yeah. So I do work the kitchen shifts, but often 3 or 4 times a week. After my shift is over around 5 o'clock, I'll work a night shift at the train station or another distribution center and work from 7 till 11 p.m. in order to stay connected and keep my feet on the ground and also just see the process. It's very touching to the heart because you're seeing people who are at the end of a very long journey, sometimes many days, or at this point, many months.
So Maxwell, you are obviously a concerned, humanitarian, sensitive person. So what kind of distress are these people in when they come into the train station or whatnot?
I did have an experience where a man received some food and gave me a hug and tears, and he was very affected by it, and it was very humbling. I would say in general, though, the people here, I would use the word lost, really. Some people have come to Poland previously, maybe a month ago or so, or 2 months ago, and they are not acclimating. They might be a little bit older and not wanting to learn the language, not feeling comfortable here, and then deciding to go back to Ukraine despite the uncertainty and maybe not even having a home there anymore. So really, it's a sense of people who are lost, who have this deep uncertainty of what's going to happen in their life next. And they're looking for direction. They're looking for support.
Yes.
My family, my wife's family, grew up they're all from England. And the elder folks remember the bombing of London. And everyone would remark about their resiliency. Are you seeing that spirit of resiliency? Because Katrina and I watch and, with joy, the leadership of President Zelenskyy, but we also hear about the resiliency and the fortitude of the populace. Are you seeing that as well?
I am, but it's mixed. And for example, a large part of the support staff and the site coordinators are displaced Ukrainians. And I am impressed, and I said it even today, I'm impressed every day that they can show up and they can lead us, and they show up with a smile, and they're organizing us volunteers who we're supposed to be the ones who are coming with strength and support. But we're being led by people who have gone through a tremendously difficult experience that I could hardly fathom. And they're here working hard, working harder and harder and harder. And it's really impressive. It's incredible.
On that note, do you have any specific stories that you've witnessed of families that just kind of stay with you?
When I first arrived here, I learned that there were several volunteers who had been after work buying some toys and going to the train station to hand them out to the kids to kind of, break up this moment where they're arriving and there's some discombobulation and trying to make this contact. So I followed these volunteers and handed some toys out myself. And I had a few really powerful experiences where you can, and it's the same with giving food, but you can see in this moment you're providing something to the people there that they lighten up, they smile. And with the children, they're happy, they want to play. And it makes a big impact on you when you see that you're actually providing a moment of joy for somebody. And it's a rare opportunity to experience that and to feel the power of what a little action, really a little action can do for somebody at the right moment.
One small kindness can create crazy, amazing human experiences, one person at a time. That's what we always say at the end of the podcast.
Right.
So it is true that one small kindness, and you're doing so many small kindnesses by making every sandwich and doing all of these things. And honestly, it's even been proven scientifically that when we do good things for others, it actually gives us such a boost of our own oxytocin. And, it creates a good feeling in you. So when you give, it is like giving to yourself in many ways as well. It helps with mood and everything, right? Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think there is a precious combination to be engaged in something where you're providing a benefit to other people, but you're also receiving a benefit. It's a really cherished combination.
Yes, it is. It's really I think that's what humanity is. I think that's why we're on the planet, to reciprocate that kind of thing. We're meant to be in relationship and we're meant to be there for others. And that's the way we feel connected. And I mean, it sounds to me that you have a similar philosophy, and that's what you're doing there. And we're just so in awe of that. And Maxwell, that I heard your story because you're my nephew. You're my sister's son. And so you're my eldest sister's son, my sister Mariana, who I love very much. And so I've watched you grow up.
Tell us an embarrassing story of when he was a child.
What people don't know is that Maxwell is a musician and really pursued his musical career, I believe, for many, many years. And you're going to expound upon that. You can do that. But I will say his first band was called Surfing Eyeballs. Am I right?
That is true.
Hey, and his latest band was Gold Tooth Players. Am I right?
I like that too.
That is correct. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your music.
So, I started playing guitar when I was still in grade school. It was, something that my mother, your sister, suggested to me. And, I am so grateful for that because it became something that was very fulfilling to me and a way for me to explore and process my emotions and grow.
So Maxwell, do you have your guitar in?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Are you playing it there?
That's a good question. I didn't bring my guitar, but there is somebody here who, a volunteer from a month ago or two had left their guitar here. So I have been able to play for people and it has been really nice. And
wow. So Maxwell, we are musicians as well. And we try to interpret the world around us and put it into art, which is exactly what you do. So what does music mean to you? Just, you touched on how you started playing when you were younger, but what does it mean to you now?
I think music and my desire to do this humanitarian work both come from a similar source, which is, again, this idea of making a connection with people and trying to draw out my perspective or enrich my perspective and have something to share from that point. So for me, music has been about connecting with myself and then sharing that with other people with the idea of trying to bring some closeness, some connection to others.
Hey, Max, thank you. I wanted to also ask before we close, what would you want people in the United States and abroad to know about what you're doing there and what is happening there in the Ukraine, even from a political perspective? Just something you want to leave our listeners with, like, hey, we need more help, or?
Well, I would say, and again, I'm working shoulder to shoulder with Ukrainians who have left Ukraine and people here in Poland who support that. And so what I can say is that this conflict is ongoing, and there are attacks every week that affect people directly, whether they're in the country or whether they're already outside of Ukraine and just their family is there and they're just knowing that their country is under attack and that the future is uncertain for them, greatly uncertain. And so what I would say is that don't forget that this conflict is ongoing, and also that you have opportunities to support people. Like we had just said, small actions can have great effects. So I would recommend that people try to engage, even if it's a small donation or coming out here and participating in an organization like World Central Kitchen. I've been so impressed with people who have taken their own initiative here, either working for the kitchen or doing aid runs into Ukraine. And I would say that the freedom to do that is in your hands as a member of the public. You have the opportunity to make a small action and have an effect, but also receive that benefit of knowing that you did something and having a positive effect on the world.
I love it.
So for those of you watching this episode, anybody interested in joining up with World Central Kitchen, is it a prerequisite to have your hair dyed blonde?
No. Oh my gosh. I keep my hair restrained all the time when I'm in the kitchen. And in fact, I thought, oh gosh, I was worried about my blonde hair coming out here because I was not here to be loud and, as stylish, but
it looks great.
Yeah.
I love it. It's fantastic. You wouldn't be Maxwell without that. I love it. A little personality,
right.
A little character. I love that. And so I was just thinking about, how has this experience shaped what you want to do going forward, Maxwell?
When I was serving myself, it's always a little bit harder to make that goal for yourself. You're either, not quite how you wanted it to be or not at the level where you want to be. But when you're doing humanitarian work, you're right on target for what you want to do.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that Jefferson and I are going to get on a plane and go work at the World Central Kitchen.
And I will bring 2 guitars.
I want to go.
Yes.
I know our producer Ken Carlson is sitting here too, chomping at the bit. We were talking about doing some runs into Ukraine with some goods with some friends.
So can you tell us, for our audience, anybody watching that might want to follow you personally and your musical career, or follow everything that the World Central Kitchen is doing, how can we do that?
Absolutely. So you can follow me on my Instagram, which is at Maxwell Eaton. And of course, World Central Kitchen is, I believe, at WC Kitchen. And of course, José Andrés, one of the heads of World Central Kitchen, his name is Nate Mook, and he is all over Instagram as well. So I think if you were to look up me or the organization there, you're going to see daily stories of what's happening here and other activations across the world.
So this is really inspiring, Max. I want to thank you so much for being here with us today, taking time out of your incredibly busy schedule there. You're working your shift and then you're going to the train station and you're just making the best of your time there. It's so impressive. I'm so proud of you. You should be so proud of yourself. I think that all those volunteers there, give them big hugs from us. Like, these are the people on the ground. You are the people, that are making the difference, and collectively.
Can I also say, from a former dishwasher's perspective, please thank all the dishwashers for me.
100%.
By the way, Katrina and I cannot wait to hear the song you're going to write about this experience.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Jefferson. That's very good.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, on that note, Maxwell Eaton, we are thrilled to speak with you. And we just want to thank you so much for being with us. You are crazy amazing.
Just one drop.
So that's our show. A huge thank you to Maxwell Eaton for sharing his experience serving with the World Central Kitchen and for giving us a frontline view of what's happening with Ukrainian refugees there. Wow, it is so inspiring to hear the work that so many people are doing there. It's also devastating to hear about what's happening, but we just want to thank all those people there who are helping. And as always, if you've enjoyed today's episode and you think it would be meaningful and helpful for someone you know, please be a crazy, amazing human and let them know about us.
Yes. So a couple of quick reminders. Make sure to subscribe to the Crazy Amazing Humans podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We've also filmed the podcasts, so you can check us out on the Crazy Amazing Humans YouTube channel. And while you're there, make sure and leave comments. We love to hear what you're thinking.
Yes. And most of all, we want to make sure to thank you for being with us. Thank you. And remember that every little kindness has the potential to create crazy, amazing human experiences, one person at a time.
So with that in mind, this week, we want to encourage you to find one thing that you can do to extend kindness and love in the world. I'm Jefferson Denham.
And I'm Katrina Carlson. Stay healthy, stay connected, and we will see you next time right here on the Crazy Amazing Humans podcast.
I want you to feel, I want you to feel something crazy, crazy, amazing.
If you have any questions or comments about today's episode, please make sure to write us at crazyamazinghumans@gmail.com.